Dennis Schroeder started in place of Paul George on Saturday. PG-13 sitting this one out as well. Memphis Grizzlies, OKC Thunder. Game you're going to see right here on NBA TV at 7 o'clock. Welcome to the Auto Trader pregame show. Chris Miles here with Greg Anthony, Sekou Smith. And again, the Thunder will play a third straight game without the services of their MVP candidate, Paul George, who has shoulder soreness. Sekou, how much does this team lose without PG on the court as far as what he brings to the table?
I think they lose the guy who gives them their balance. You know, as great as Russ has been and as much of a catalyst as he is for this team and always has been, Paul George was the guy who brought some equilibrium to this outfit this year, who really gave him an opportunity to balance out not just the floor, but the way they play. You know, you don't lean on Russ in the same way when Paul George is out there because you have somebody else who can play off of Russ, but also take over when need be. And without him, you've seen him struggle a little bit just in terms of having a guy to go to GA when you don't want to lean on Russell Westbrook all the time because, you know, the other team is, they know Russ has got the ball in his hands and is controlling things. Paul George was that left hook you didn't see coming.
I tell you the other thing, too, is he's really allowed Russell Westbrook to grow as a player from the standpoint of not feeling like he's got to go play hero ball. You know, first time I think in Russ's career where he was much more in defer mode. You look at his drives in the paint this year, he's passed it on 50% of those. That's by far the highest percentage of his career. And a lot of that is because of the trust and the chemistry he's developed with Paul George. And Paul George has been playing like a top 3 or 4 player in our league all season long. And Russ has been comfortable with him doing that. And it's really been important in a year where Westbrook has struggled from an efficiency standpoint. He's not shooting it well from 3, has a chance to shoot the lowest three-point percentage in the history of our league based on the amount of attempts he's at right now. Right now, he would break the record if the season ended today. So it's vital that they have Paul George out there with a young group where they don't have a lot of guys offensively that they can rely on. So when you don't have that 1-2 combination, it puts a lot of pressure on other guys to try to do more.
And we just saw Paul George on the court before the game looking like he's trying to get loose and get out there. Won't play tonight, but looks like he should be back soon. Let's take a look at the Thunder's upcoming schedule presented by Metro by T-Mobile. After Tuesday night, Thunder will face 6 straight teams who are currently in the playoffs. Certainly, they would like to have PG-13 back. He's currently listed as day-to-day. Following Saturday night's loss to the Spurs, Westbrook seemed adamant that missing Paul George is no excuse.
How does that change when Paul's not on the floor, when those teams pack the paint and you're getting guys wide open shots, but Paul's not out there?
I'm confused. What are you asking? Just ask the question you asked.
How does the offense change when Paul's not on the floor, but teams are also packing the paint as well?
Next question.
How does the offense change when Paul's not on the floor?
A lot, obviously. If MVP's not on the floor, he averaged 30 points a game. It changed the offense a lot. So you didn't answer that question. You just wanted to ask to get that answer.
What did the Spurs do against you defensively?
No, I asked you a question. Did you know the answer?
Oh, I didn't even hear the Jasmine. What was the question you asked me?
I said you knew the answer to that question, right?
Well, I think sometimes we ask questions, but we want to hear the answer from you,
But do
Russell.
you know the answer?
Well, I wanted to hear if you had any insight into that answer besides me just saying.
No, do you know the answer,
Paul's
yes or no?
The question.
Did you know the answer?
What was the question again?
Good that's not you, Sekou.
I know, that's my man Eric Horn from the Oklahoma. I like that he
had him on yesterday.
I like that he flipped it back on Russ though and asked, what was the question again?
But it's clear they're having issues shooting the ball without Paul George on the court. But Russell Westbrook is in the center of that, and he struggled shooting all season. Like you said, GA, when it comes to 300 or more attempts from three-point range in a season, no one has been as atrocious as Russell Westbrook. That's the word to describe it. Look,
that's a good word.
For a third straight year, but shooting from outside, you know, this Allen Iverson and Antoine Walker.
Man, when I saw this stat,
Twice, 2 times. Beneath 30% from three-point range in the season.
And GA, you tell me if I'm wrong, but you know what this reminds me of, though? This is when you have a flaw in your game early on in your career that you don't correct. And nobody ever really corrected the fact that Russ basically took these shots whenever he felt like it, when he's playing with Kevin Durant, James Harden early in his career. You transition and get new people around him. He doesn't have the same kind of shooters that he had early in his career, so it almost magnifies his shooting struggles now even more because of the personnel around him not being able to cover for that or to pick up the slack.
And I will say this, like, you know, when we talk about shooting, we focus so much on whether or not the ball's going in. But your ability to shoot it well is not always about your ability to make shots. It's really more about your ability to take good shots. And you could go break down film after film with Russell, and a lot of the problem is shot quality, shot selection, rhythm with your shots. And so they don't have, especially with Paul George is out, he's not going to get quality rhythm looks. You know, most of the shots he's getting, he has to create, and he's got to create them as a focal point. So it's not an excuse because he's got to get better at it. Like, he's at a point of his career where you got to know what a good shot is and what a bad shot is. And you got to understand, and your team's got to understand, guys, we got to get a better quality of shot. And that's really, if you start looking at one of the issues, you look at a team like Denver, you look at Golden State, it's their ability to take quality shots off of ball movement, off of great spacing, in rhythm, that allows them to shoot a higher percentage. And that's not the case right now for Russ in OKC.
You know who's good at finding good shot selection? How about Ish Smith of the Detroit Pistons? And I'm not talking about the shots that he hit. Michael Jordan, the all-time scoring list, and 40 to pass his airness. LeBron averaging a triple-double since coming back from his groin injury 11 games ago. GA, the numbers can't be denied for LeBron James. You played against Michael Jordan. It seems fair. Now, after almost 16 full seasons for LeBron, where does LeBron's legacy stack up against Jordan's legacy?
Well, listen.
They're different players.
They're different players, and Michael is regarded as the best to ever play the game. I would argue you'd have to put Kareem in that conversation as well when you look at what he's accomplished. But LeBron James, in my mind, has clearly put himself on the Mount Rushmore of basketball in terms of his accomplishments, both collectively and individually. I mean, the numbers are staggering, and you know, those are two guys, and I've said this all along. Look, each guy's place within the game is secure, just like all the greats are. But it's more for me about just appreciating the journey. I mean, you go back and think about when this guy came in as the anointed one out of high school, and for him to have had the career he's had, I'd have to say he's probably overachieved. Because even when you say a guy's going to be the next great thing, you could not have ever imagined that he could have put forth the resume that he has in his time in the league. But for that injury, you know, we still might be raving about him. But those 16 games being out and how this team has played here down the stretch, there's a lot of doubt and concern right now in Lakerland.
Yeah, I think we forget about the expectation, Chris, is what LeBron had to play underneath. Kobe didn't have greatest of all time expectation. Michael Jordan didn't enter the league with anybody talking about him one day becoming the greatest player of all time. LeBron's the first guy I can remember who came into the league since probably Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with that kind of expectation that you're going to go out and have not only a long, fruitful career, but win championships and MVPs, you know, change the game. And I mean, you're right, G.A., he has exceeded probably a lot of reasonable expectations for what he'd be able to do, especially coming out straight out of high school with no college and no other way to really vet his game other than getting out there on the court as a teenager and proving it from day one.
And you say proving it from day one, and now we're in season 16, and there was never a drop-off for LeBron. There was never a season of doubt of how great he was or is at this point still.
No, there really has not been when you look at the totality of what he's done. Even coming to L.A. initially, you know, they got off to a little bit of a slow start, but somewhat you had to expect that. This was a young team that hadn't won much, and then you basically have to have everybody redefine their game playing alongside LeBron, and then eventually they got into a good rhythm prior to that injury. But I think from an offensive standpoint, you know, he hadn't shot it well from the free throw line or the three, but overall he's had a tremendous impact offensively. And that's really been the problem with this young team, and LeBron, for that matter. They only play one side of the ball, and that's one reason right now they're on the outside looking in terms of postseason.
Well, speaking of which, despite another incredible statistical season from LeBron James, the Lakers are falling out of the playoff picture and fading fast after losing to the Phoenix Suns on Saturday night. Lakers are full 4.5 games behind the Spurs and the LA Clippers right now out west. It's not over yet for the Lakers, but LeBron James certainly understands how far the Lakers have to go in this final month.
We can't keep looking at the standings. The standings are going to be what they are no matter what. No matter if you win or lose, you can't. I've never been one to kind of look at the standings. I mean, you've known me for a while. So you just got to go out and do your job and try to do it at a high level throughout 48 minutes and then see what happens at the end of that. So you can't focus on the standings because they shift and move so much throughout the course of the season. I'm not here to harp on the negativity or the negative. We had opportunities. We could have played better here. We could have played better there. I mean, that's been throughout the whole season. It's been throughout the whole season. But right now, it's a tough loss. It's a tough loss for us. It was a tough loss for us last night. We knew we had gave so much to that game last night. We had to kind of find our own energy. I actually felt a lot better than I thought I was going to feel once I got on the floor. But as a collective group, we didn't always have it. A few of us had it at times, but it wasn't always a 5-man collective, group.
LeBron talking about playing on the second night of a back-to-back. But, the Lakers were down by 18 at the start of the fourth quarter against the Suns, and their defense, it was non-existent. How much of a factor was that in that game for the Lakers just not showing up on defense?
Listen, it's been the issue for them, in essence, since LeBron has come back. Defensively, this team has just been porous. I mean, it's like they're out there warming up to start practice. You see they're running this pick and roll late on the closeout. You got to run that guy off a three-point shot. LeBron doesn't get there in time. And that's really the theme of this team from a defensive standpoint all season. They can score it. They haven't had a problem there, but just look at the lack of effort in transition defensively. Brandon Ingram, it's like he's stretching, getting ready to warm up in practice, doesn't get anywhere near the play. And it's not just him. Kuzma, LeBron, all these guys, the young guys and LeBron at this stage of his career, they've got to commit on that side of the ball. And that's why they struggle mightily, is that they're a group right now that only plays on the offensive end. They're giving up 122 points a game. They're 28th in defensive rating, defensive efficiency throughout the league. And so if that doesn't change, they not only have no chance this year, it's going to be hard for them to continue to improve when you want to play against these elite teams in that Western Conference.
It sounds like you say they're not going to make the playoffs. Sekou, where are you on that?
Look, the math is all against them right now. They got to go off and just play unbelievable basketball, the next couple of weeks to even put themselves back in a decent position. I think you nailed it, though, GA. The defensive lapses for this team, and if you look at it, it's not just one guy. It's a collective effort that has vanished. It's just not there defensively, and it's cost them. It's funny. We talk about the Boston Celtics having some similar issues where they have the kind of personnel that should be able to play at a high level defensively, but if you're not committed to it mentally, they watch the film. They go back and watch the tape after every game. They have to see this. We see it plain as day. When are they going to see it and change their ways? And if they don't, we all know what comes next. You break this team up, you find a new coach, and everything else starts fresh this summer in L.A.
Find a new coach.
There's a controversy with Jordan and LeBron. Who's the best?
One game on our home floor to bring home another championship, man.
It's fun for fans to debate that.
Michael was the one that set the bar. It changed everything. It changed basketball.
He wants to be the greatest of all time.
Down the floor, Michael caught it.
He's on target, turns, sends it.
You can't believe that one, can you?
LeBron is the GOAT. Michael Jordan, for sure.
LeBron James.
Michael Jordan.
It's neck and neck for me between Jordan and LeBron.
6 seconds to go. Throws up the floater. Good night, Cleveland. The LeBron James legend continues.
The thing that he do off the court, on the court, is just legendary. He's so dynamic and he's so unselfish that he's been able to get all his teammates involved while, dominating when he has to.
Oh, what a play by Michael Jordan. Goes inside. Oh, classic Jordan. A spectacular move by Michael Jordan.
To me, the greatest of all time has to be Michael Jordan.
Whose game is it? It's Michael Jordan's game.
just because how many times he went to the championship and never lost.
All the rings he has, he's the greatest of all time.
17 seconds from championship number 6. Michael against Russell. Jordan a drive. Hang. Fire. Yes! The Chicago Bulls have won their 6th NBA championship, and it's their second three-peat.
From just watching his highlights and how he played the game, it was amazing to see that.
When he gets in that zone, there's almost no way you can stop him. He's the greatest of all time.
I want to be the greatest of all time.
No one who's ever played has dominated in all aspects the way he has.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James.
If you play with LeBron, he's going to build a certain confidence in you.
Who is the GOAT to me? That's still a toss-up. I think I have to wait until LeBron's career is over.
Well, you can argue who's the best player of all time. You can't debate who scored the most points in NBA history. While King James and his airness in the top 5, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar holds down that top spot. With that, let's welcome in 6-time champion, the guy with the most MVPs in NBA history with 6, UCLA, New York City legend, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Good to have you.
It's an honor.
Nice to be here.
Kareem, you're auctioning off hundreds of your prized possessions, including 4 championship rings, your All-Star rings, MVP trophies to benefit your Skyhook Foundation for STEM research. It ends tonight at 10 o'clock. Why is this cause so important to you?
Well, it's very important for me because I have a great legacy within the game. And by selling my memorabilia and using that money to help my foundation, I'll be able to have a great legacy doing something for the kids of my community. It's a great program. We take kids up to the Angeles National Forest, and they do hands-on STEM experiments at science, technology, engineering, and math. It gives them an idea of where the good jobs are going to be in the 21st century, and really helps them figure out how to use their educational opportunities in the best way. It's doing a really good job. We have a 6-year waiting list, and I want to keep it going.
Last night, the 2 teams you won titles with went head-to-head. What were your impressions of the Bucks this year and also the Lakers?
Well, I thought the Bucks really looked good. They had good balance defensively and offensively. They're hard to guard because of Antetokounmpo. He just changes the matchups in the game so radically. I think they're going to have a good team, and the addition of Pau Gasol really is going to do nothing but help them. The playoff experience that he has and his maturity and versatility will be a great asset to that team.
Our resident legend, Isaiah Thomas, says you are the greatest basketball player of all time. Is that true?
I don't think there's any way that we can determine who the greatest player of all time is. I saw so many of the guys in your piece that you just ran, and none of them saw Wilt Chamberlain play. Someone who averaged 50 points a game, scored 100 points in one game. They have no idea of what he did, how he did it. They didn't see Bill Russell strangle the league for 11 championships. They didn't see any of that. So, their perspective is limited. And I think that each era has had great players that you cannot deny their accomplishment or their ability to help their team win. It's an impossible thing to figure out. So I don't waste a whole lot of time talking about it. But we do have to have this conversation because it's something that people wonder about. LeBron and Michael were just such spectacular athletes, and I think that's more about what they're talking about.
Hey, Captain, Caron Butler here. How would you fare in this era?
Oh, geez, it would depend on how well I could shoot the J, I guess. They're moving the center out to the perimeter, but I took a high percentage shot. I think I shot pretty good percentage lifetime there, and high percentage shots are of great value in this game. But I don't know about the threes. I was 1 for 13 from three-point range. The times that they give it to the big guy to heave it when the clock's running out. It's no way of understanding how well I do. But I know I could defend the same way that I do now and rebound and score in the paint. I know those things are valuable.
So with that being said, who's your top 5 players ever?
I don't have it. I can't give you top 5. You know, I saw Jerry West play. I played with Oscar. I've seen Kobe play and coached him. I've seen Michael play. How can you pick one guy at point guard and one guy? You know, it's impossible, man. It's been too much talent come through the league, man. It's impossible. I think you got to like define eras and then, you know, say who was the dominant players in those eras. And, you know, that'll get you a lot closer to understanding who the great players were. But the best ever, there are too many variables.
Kareem, I remember speaking with you a few years back when you came in the studio about the sky hook and how you developed that shot from the mic and drill. Are you surprised more big kids today are not trying to master your shot, even though kids are shooting threes, but when in doubt, we still know a layup or a dunk is still a best shot. Are you surprised more big kids are not still trying to master the sky hook?
Yeah, I am. I'm very surprised because it works. It's effective. It's a high percentage shot. You will raise your field goal percentage if you shoot it often. And I don't get it. The young man that's playing for the Clippers right now, Ivica, he's doing very well, and he uses a hook shot.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, good luck with your auction tonight. It ends at 10 o'clock for your Skyhook Foundation. We appreciate all you're doing for the community and all you've done for the game of basketball. Thank you.
Thank you. It's great talking to you guys, and I really appreciate the shot that you give me, you know, just to let people know about this. Appreciate it.
I'm sorry, Karan has
Kareem,
one more question for you.
It's not a question. It's more like a statement just saying, you know, I saw your tweet where you said my career represents the legacy of black history as well as, you know, sports history, and I'm just honored to share it with my fans. And, you know, from, you know, someone that comes from that walk of life, I just want to say it's an honor to do this interview with you. You meant so much to the game, and we appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Karan. I really appreciate it.
Certainly, that goes around the horn. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And good luck to you guys.
Thanks, brother.
All right.
So that's a great point that you make about Kareem. When we talk about the greatest of all time discussion, do we mention what a guy does off the court as well? Because if we do, Kareem really takes a step up in that category.
I just think he's the standard, and he doesn't get enough credit. When you talk about the times of, you know, some of the guys being 4 individuals stepping up on that big platform, I recall the ESPYs and LeBron, Carmelo, and D-Wade, and Chris Paul all getting up there on that platform and just having that moment. You look at Kareem, you know, him, Malcolm X, Jim Brown, those guys was, you know, Ali was collectively coming together and, you know, just moving the needle on a lot of issues away from just sports, but using their platform to, you know, inspire as much as possible. So he doesn't get enough credit, and I really do see him as the GOAT in that space, and he's still actively doing that, even with his memorabilia, just, you know, being selfless in that space. It's amazing.
3D, sticking with on the court and what guys accomplish, who's on your GOAT list?
It's always been Kareem first, and it's always been Kareem on every level. So when you go look at Kareem's resume, Tough Juice, when you look at high school, he was the best ever dressed up in high school, college. You saw UCLA, they said his freshman team was the only team that beat the varsity team that year, okay? And then you come into the NBA and the numbers speak for itself. So pound for pound, it's that guy right there on every level. The years that he was playing, what he was going through, we already talked off the court. So on the court, everything he's done, and then he still has the best shot ever in basketball, the skyhook, and he just says the most high percentage shot, and he's shocked to this day why more bigger kids aren't shooting that shot.
I just don't ever want to find myself, if you call yourself a basketball historian, to be a prisoner of a trend or a moment. You know, you got to look at the complete body of work of individuals, and, you know, when you look at Kareem, you know, from high school to UCLA and to going into the association, bringing the first title to the Bucks, him and Big O. And then you look at the body of work of Kobe Bryant, you know, being at one destination all those years, 5 championships. Michael Jordan also. And then LeBron, you know, and the list goes on. So many other guys.
So on that list, put them in order for me, 1 through 5 for you.
For me, I feel like if you're just talking about the numbers, you have to say Kareem. And then I think it's Michael Jordan. And then I have Kobe Bryant with 5 championships and his legacy. And then I got LeBron James.
I would just put, the toughest part about it is, like Kareem said, It's hard not to put Wilt up there. Bill Russell won 11 and 13. So are we talking about players, or are we talking about the best winner? So that's what makes the conversation interesting. But
they just said off that list.
Off that list right
off
there?
That list.
Oh, that particular, we put, I got Kareem first, then Michael, and then Kobe, then LeBron.
So you guys both say still to this day Kobe over LeBron. Tell me why, because that's a huge discussion, and a lot of people have put LeBron past Kobe at this point in his career. Why do you still have Kobe? Well, you play with Kobe, so
it has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
I'm a realist. You know, I think that you have to look at the skill set and the longevity and being at a location where, you know, Kobe went through a period where people didn't want to play with him. People didn't want to go, and he still found a way to impose his will on the situation. He didn't leave Los Angeles. He stayed there through the good and the bad, and he was able to weather the storm. So I don't know, man. You just look at the longevity and body of work, 5 championships. I honor that. But look, LeBron's been amazing. He still has so much career left, so he still have chapters to fill. But right now, that's my list.
It's a fun debate. I think I take Kobe just a little bit more because of the other end of the floor. We know every night Kobe guarded the best wing guy every night.
And that's not the case certainly this year, in the past couple of years for LeBron James. We've seen the footage. We know what's happening there. Hey, Mondays are game nights here on NBA TV. We have a doubleheader for you. Ridiculous rookie Luka Doncic will lead his Dallas Mavericks against the All-Star D'Angelo Russell and the Brooklyn Nets. And at 10:30, it's the battle for LA between the Clippers and the Lakers. Coverage starts at 7 with the Auto Trader pregame show.